Congratulations, you have made it to Module 4 in the final section of your curriculum project. And as I've done in other sections, I wanted to kind of review and take some time to review and explain the last section of your curriculum project. And so basically in this section, you're going to use tools to evaluate your curriculum and then make an overall critique of your curriculum. So let's kind of take a look at some of the elements to this part. In the first part, you're going to have formative and summative assessments. That is in different sections broken down by Roman numeral. So Roman numeral number 1 deals with formative and summative assessments. Number 2, Roman numeral number 2 deals with curriculum evaluation and critique. And then the last section will be a final analysis. So kind of let's go back up and kind of take a look at each section. So in the first part, you're going to deal with formative and summative assessments. And so you're basically describing the formative and summative components of your curriculum. Now, if there are, let's just kind of deal with formative assessments for a second. If there are no formative assessments built into the curriculum, then you'll want to consider the tools that you use as a teacher. And oftentimes they are developed individually by the teacher. And so you want to talk about the ones that you use as you are implementing the curriculum. Now, if you're not teaching the curriculum, then you'll need to reach out to someone who is teaching the curriculum and kind of interview them about this component. And so then you will discuss the philosophy and the process for scoring and using the formative tools. And so what you're looking for is what is the thinking behind the formative assessments, and what are they supposed? How are they supported? What are they supposed to? How are they supposed to be used? When are they supposed to be used? And how are they supposed to be used? And so you might include how these elements are scored, and the impact, and how they are graded, and how they are used to grade a student, and the impact that they might have. And so as soon as you do that for the formative part, you will also do the same process for the summative assessment elements. And so when you, just as you were answering the same formative questions, formative assessment questions, you'll do the same, talking about describing what they are, including the philosophy and the process for scoring and use of summative assessments. And then in part 3, you're going to look at the third element. You'll look and see how should assessments be modified for special populations of students. Now, you can identify if your curriculum makes attempts to consider this question, or is it kind of left to the teacher. And this is also a section, there's also a section in your class text that discusses this, and so you should review this as you consider trying to answer this question. And then in part 4, letter D, the last part of section 1, would be a kind of a different question. You're looking at stages of multicultural school transformation, and there's a chart on page 348 in your text, and you're going to look at the different definitions of multicultural, the different definitions of the stages of multicultural school transformation, and you describe which stages are included in your curriculum, if any at all. Now, you may find that they aren't included, but they might not be included in your curriculum, but you might find that there are some elements that are more school-wide initiatives that you could discuss. And so you would discuss this, just not every stage, just the ones that are most prominent. Okay? So that kind of wraps up the first part of your paper. And then we kind of move down to part 2, curriculum evaluation and critique. And so this section also has 3 parts to it, A, B, and C. And first, you select a curriculum model and describe how it could be used to evaluate your curriculum. Now, those models that you would select from are described in your text. Some are described in your text. There's also a PowerPoint presentation that I posted regarding the models. And then, in addition, there's a Chapter 12 supplemental reading that is posted that describes these models to choose from. So that's the first part of you're looking at a model, describing it, and how it could be used, and kind of why you selected that model to use to evaluate your curriculum. Then in part B, the second thing you'll do is using several resources, and the ones I've mentioned, you are going to develop a rubric for evaluation of your curriculum. So basically, you're going to look at like Bradley's model in the text, and you'll see that there's different lists of criteria that could be used to evaluate curriculum. And then if you look at the PowerPoint presentation on the curriculum evaluation, that can also provide you some information on how to develop rubrics and elements that you could include. And then there's the Chapter 12 supplemental reading that you'll use for this module that will provide some specific examples of evaluation tools that you could use. I've also included in the resource tab samples of specific rubrics that you could use. Now, you can pull elements from all of these resources. And basically, you're going to create your own rubric, which will have 10 to 15 elements. And you can pull from all the resources that I've provided. But what I would ask you not to do is just copy an entire tool and just post it, post it into your paper. You're to use all those resources and kind of pull from different ones, different elements to create your own. And then you'll decide how you want to score the instrument. You can see from the different rubrics that are there, there's an array of ways to score it, whether it's a yes, no, a 0 to 5, whatever it is. And then you would attach a copy of your scored rubric. And then in this final section of part 2, you're going to use a tool to evaluate the quality of your curriculum and provide insights you've gained from using. And so in this final one, you're going to use and complete your rubric. You will score your rubric based on the tool you selected or the one that you designed. And you will not only score the rubric, but then I want you to describe your results and the insights you gained from it using the tool that you developed. And you're actually essentially giving a score to your curriculum. So that kind of wraps up part 2. And then the last section of the paper is the final analysis. And so this is a large overview of all that we've done so far in the course in each module. And you're going to consider the entire project from module 1 to 4 and identify steps that could be taken to strengthen areas of your curriculum that you think are weak. And you are to include at least 8 elements discussed throughout the course that you think need to be enhanced in your curriculum. So go back and look at the things that we talked about in Module 1, the elements in Module 2, 3, and then finally the elements in Part 4. And you're identifying at least 8 things that you think could be enhanced in your curriculum. And then you can see that also see different elements of the assignment format down at the bottom here as we scroll down. You'll see the title page. The same basic format of the assignment is the same as it's been the last 3 sections. And so you'll have a formative and summative assessment section, curriculum evaluation section, the final analysis, references, and anything that you would attach. And then in the rubric, you'll see the overall assignment being critiqued, and then the individual different elements or different sections of your paper that will be scored. And so then you'll be finished with the course, and that will kind of wrap up this course and the final part of your large project. And so I look forward to reading your final paper. All right. Thanks for all your efforts.